Hi friends, Jennifer Pearson here, Thistle Gypsy, with the continuing saga with the Greenwood Tarot. So we're starting with the sixes today. And as I looked at them before starting the video, I do see them as something of a progression. With the numerology, you do go back and forth with, challenges and healing or whatever. So, in the fours, we kind of made it to a state, where they were preparing to kind of head out into the world, or asking oneself kind of what one's own individual purpose is. And then in the fives, there was being beset or feeling threatened, and then kind of pulling back into security, but individual security, not community security. And so kind of keeping your sense of autonomy there while you dealt with some struggles. And then coming out of those struggles even more empowered. But here we have a return. So to me, this is a return to, let me get my little twig. Yeah. Oh, and then since this is a little island here, so it's a return. We're also going to see this double point. There's a point here, and there's a point here. So these are two triangles, one upright, one inverted. So we're going to see that in the third card. Well, we have a double terminated quartz. So within these sixes, there's kind of a lot of return of imagery, repeated imagery within these cards, with the exception of the Six of Wands. So, so a return. And isn't that often kind of the truth of the matter, that once, you'd say young people, maybe after college, maybe, when they're 18, 19, 20, if they've left home, they don't want to go home too much, but once they feel like they've kind of established their independence and they've managed some things on their own, they're more willing actually to accept help and return, even if they don't return home to live with someone, to return to a community without feeling those pressures that we saw in the Four of Cups or the Five of Wands. So yeah, returning to family, returning to home, not necessarily to stay, but for reflection and to get nourishment. Again, being nourished, going back to the source. We have gifts here, and that could be either the person returning, bringing gifts, or the person who has stayed having the gifts. And you see there's the little island. It almost looks like a little nativity scene there also. So it's almost like, again, returning to parents, returning to the source. And then here's our little mound or island here. This card also encompasses, you see it looks like two people holding hands right there. Let's see if I can get my little pointer up. Yeah, it looks like two people holding hands right there. And that also, this looks like the body of a bee. Oh God, I can't do this when it's mirror like this. Okay, and then the wings here. And you see how grounded these two people are. That's the only trees that we see roots on. So it's kind of returning to your roots, being nourished by your roots. That could be, that's brings to mind the Lover's card, but it doesn't need to be the Lover's card. It can be parents, it can be friends, just returning and renewing affections, and again, to me, that's a source of nourishment. Oops, okay. Here's the bees. The bee that was featured in the last card, the double termination that was featured in the first card, the Six of Arrows. So, so here we have the Six of Stones. And this is clear, well, not so clearly, but I'm taking these to be like nymph forms. And then I don't know if these are developmental forms or if these are like the nymph or the worker bee and the drones or something. And I would take this in the middle maybe to be the queen bee, or it can be the highest state of development. And I don't know what the significance of all of these things are. I mean, one, this is a double terminated quartz. I don't know what that is. That looks like amber. And that looks maybe like it's a gold nugget. And that looks like a star sapphire. And I don't know what the square thing is. What would that be? Does anybody have any idea? Or the black over on the other side, you know, this black thing right here. Can we even get, yeah, I don't know what that's supposed to be. But in any case, my thinking is that this return and nourishment, again, fosters development. You know, it gives a structure. It reminds one of your history, of the structure through which you rose up, okay, and what fosters your development. Okay, so that's my thinking there. Whoops. So again, each time, it's like each time we go through a number, we're kind of getting to another stage of development. And so I see this as, again, being part of the community, but each of these wands is coming from a different type of tree. So maintaining your individuality and yet contributing to the whole or the community. So having that sense of being able to go back into the family or into the community and yet keep the autonomy you established during your initial independence and the trials that you underwent during that time. Okay. 7, let's see, it's 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock. It's been 8 minutes. I'm trying to decide whether I can get the 7s in here. I should be able to. All right, we're going to do the 7s and then we're going to stop. So one of the things I noticed about the 7 cards is there's always something in the middle surrounded by other things. So in the first one, you've got the skull surrounded by the cups. And then you have the flames surrounded by the wood. And then the green figure surrounded by the plaguing figures, the creepy scaries there. And then we have this central shamanic figure. And we have this person here, who I take to be this person here. This green is repeated and is kind of having, looks like the heart shield especially, but this central figure I feel like surrounded by spiritual, ancestral kinds of energy that is being fed to this person. So, this is less of a story, except for those two. Well, maybe, yeah. I think I didn't give this one as much thought as I should have before doing this, because I don't think, Those last two definitely form a sequence, but I'm not sure if there's something in between it. So what I see, so you're gonna get the pleasure of watching me sort these things out. So here you have a skull, and here you have skulls, right? I could actually see this is the card I'm having the most trouble placing. So what's clear to me about this is that it is fuel for the fire. So the fire is surrounded by the fuel it needs to be maintained. And so that I'm going to treat this as a teaching. Okay, so here we go. Much like the, was it the 5? Much like the 5, this person is beset. However, the arrows are not getting deeply embedded. This is almost like to me has nine of swords energy, but that's not what it is. It's its own thing here. I apologize if things get a little wiggly. My dogs are starting to get a little agitated. They're ready to go back. I'm not going to say the word. They're ready to go back, O-U-T. Anyway, so yes, beset, maybe by thoughts, doubts, but what maybe your past. So the last set was kind of healing energy and finding your place within a community, maybe within your family. This feels like, you have, this could be ancestor energy, and I just ordered these cards according to essentially ancestor energy. So feeling beset by your past, maybe that you're on shaky foundations here, but because you've come as far as you have on this journey, the arrows really are not embedding. They can't take, but they're still a plague, right? So you want to get rid of them. So this is where you go to a person who knows how to use that ancestral energy, or a guide or a healer, all right? And this person is, again, surrounded by spiritual ancestral energy, and that is the source that is being used for the healing. This may or may not be somebody directly related to your own family, but it may be giving you a wider sense of what your family or ancestors are, instead of your direct descendants that may be troublesome to you and may have been the source of all that plaguing going on. And then I see this card as shifting, as a shift from feeling, you underwent the healing, and that creates a shift between being plagued by ancestral energy or phantasms or whatever, and then you undergo the healing and a change in perspective, and then you're actually able to honor them. So I see this central skull as representing ancestors, and all of the cups around it as offerings. So this being, honoring the ancestors and not being afraid of them. And seeing further and further, seeing those ancestors as fuel for your own fire. In other words, in this I see the individual is now the fire, and seeing the things that are around one, instead of seeing all these things around them as a plague, as potential danger, as threats, seeing them, those things, as fuel for the fire, fuel for your own inner fire. All right. There we go. There's the sevens. I'm going to end this video and we'll start the next one with the eights. Bye-bye.